Hey guys, this is week 42 of my series 52 Weeks of Reaper. Every week for 52 weeks, I'll be releasing a new video focusing on a key feature in Reaper. So let's jump right in. So for this week, our topic and our focus will be spectral options in Reaper. So I'm not going to go too deep into spectral editing. It's more about the fact that the option is available in Reaper. So spectral editing is basically a different way of looking at your audio and the frequency range that you have available to you. And with those options, you have different ways to analyze your audio data, and you also have some editing features. So something like Isotope's Ozone gives you a suite that allows some spectral views and spectral editing features, but we also have some features built right into Reaper. So let's look at what that looks like. So right here, we have this audio file that I recorded a specific way, and you will see why in a minute. So let's check it out really quick. It's just me doing some fake dialogue. I'm recording these lines next to a running pipe to demonstrate the spectral editing feature in Reaper. Hopefully this works out. So I used the running pipe to have a steady frequency to kind of showcase some of the editing functions and features, and you'll understand why in a minute. So first off, let's jump over here. We're going to go to options right here, and we're going to scroll all the way down. So down here, it says peaks display mode. So when we go over here, we will notice we have it in normal mode, and then there's a bunch of options down here. First one we're going to look at will be spectral peaks. So if you select that, you notice the audio changes and you're seeing color splotches throughout the waveforms. So what these color changes represent are different frequency ranges. So your low frequencies are going to have a specific color, and your mid range is going to have a specific color, and high range frequencies are going to have different colors. So I'm not really a fan of using this, but some people use it to identify plosives in vocals and or hisses. So if they're looking to de-hiss something, so they'll have it set where the hisses will be at a certain color, like red or green or pink or purple. So wherever they see any purple, they will know that most likely that's a hiss, and it's something they might want to pay attention to and address. Personally, I just listen, and if I hear it, then I'll hone in on it and fix it. But the option is here for you to have spectral peak views. Next up, we also have, let's go back to this option menu and go back down to where it says peak display mode. We also have spectrogram. So when you switch to spectrogram, now we have this spectrogram view. And in this view is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So once again, you're looking at it in a different way, where at the top is the higher frequency, and as you work your way down, you're getting to the lower frequency. So everything down here in this area where it gets yellow, this is the lower frequency, and the responses and how bright certain things are in those frequency ranges is just showing you how loud the amplitude is at those specific frequency ranges. So if you notice, there is a very constant hue going through here, right here. That, and there's another one very faint here. That is representing the actual consistent sound of the pipe running. So that's kind of why I did that. So now you can actually create a selection area. You can right click on the audio file. And this is one thing I don't like about this feature, is where it is in the list. So for this, I can right click on the audio item and I will have the option right here for Spectral Edit, but it only has two options, and that's to show the view, which is what I did. And then we have add spectral edit item, which we'll touch on in a second. But then when we go back to our options menu up here, we have some of those same features in that menu, the peaks display mode, and then we have all these other options. So I feel like all these options should also be in this right-click menu right here, which if you watched my video from week 39 on September 27th, where I talked about customizing your menus, this would definitely be a menu option that I would put in this right-click menu here for my items, so that when I right-click on my item, I can see these menu options that's here in the option menu. Basically, this peak display option menu, I would definitely add it and all these options to this right-click menu, because it just makes more sense to have it here rather than have to go up here to deal with all those settings. So now I want to do some spectral editing. So what you would do is right-click on the audio item, go to Spectral Edit, and hit Add Spectral Edit to Item. Once you do that, you're going to get this box here that's covering from the top to the bottom the full frequency range. And you can adjust this essentially envelope or a box or a window. So anything within this spectral editing window will be affected when you start tweaking the settings, which we're going to go over right now. So first of all, notice at the top, it is showing you a frequency range. So it's showing you that it's covering the whole frequency range. And then there's a decibel amount here. So we have these knobs here, and all these knobs mean something. And we're going to talk about that in a second. There's one down here. So first knob we're going to deal with is the top knob right here. And you get the tooltip that lets you know that that is a gain knob. So we can turn up and turn down the gain. And of course, it'll affect everything within that spectral editing item range. So let's double click on that to reset it. Then right here, this one is a compressor threshold. So there is a compressor here, and next to that is the compressor ratio. Then below that over here to the left, we have a gate threshold, and then we have the gate floor, and then we have the region fade out. Over here, this is the region fade in, and at the top, this is for the high frequency fade in, and at the bottom, the low frequency fade in. And this will all make sense in a second. So what we could do is hover at the top here, and we can actually pull down. We're going to try to hone in on that frequency range right here, where the pipe noise is most prominent. So as we're pulling down, you'll notice it's now showing you the frequency range is changing. So it's showing you right now we're at about 9,000 hertz, almost 10,000 hertz. And then when we start pulling up the bottom, which is where all the low frequency begins, you see the zeros start to go up. So overall, if we bring it down to about here, we're now locked into a frequency range of about 4,200 hertz to about 5,200 hertz. So right within that frequency range seems to be where the audio is for the water running. So what you can do is right click right here on the spectral edit item, and you'll get some options. You can delete, you can bypass, and you can solo. And right here, we have some FFT size options. So let's switch that to 4,096 points for more detail. And we'll right click again, and we're gonna hit solo. And it's gonna solo that section. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna move this over to where I stopped talking, so we can just hear the area that has no talking. I'm gonna lasso that range here, and we'll start playing it from here. And take a listen to what we have soloed. So hopefully you guys are hearing that. And I'm gonna start to open up the frequency range. I'm gonna pull the top up and go higher in frequency. And we're letting more of that in. And notice I pulled it down and you're getting all the lower frequencies. So it allows you to basically create a band range and lock in on that frequency. And once you have it locked in, I'm going to turn off solo. What that means now is you can actually go in, bring the volume down, bring the volume up. You can also compress by dialing in a threshold, a ratio. You can also gate. And then based on what you're trying to do, where your edit range starts, you might want a smoother transition into that edit area based on what your editing choices are, whether you're cutting out a frequency or boosting a frequency range, and you can kind of fade in. So when you dial that in, let me make this more drastic so you can see. When you start dialing a fade in, it kind of fades in to that edit. So you don't get an abrupt change and you'll get a more smoother transition into the effect. And adversely, at the end here, we have a fade out. So you'll get a smooth transition out of the effect. And then at the top, if you want, you can use this knob to fade in to the top range frequency. And same thing with the bottom range frequency. So those knobs and features are there just to help you smoothly dial in the effect so that it's more transparent. And hopefully based on what you're trying to edit, it will help you achieve a more transparent result based on what you're going for. So that's basically the spectral editing tool built right into Reaper from default. So I'm going to go ahead, right click, and I'm going to delete that tool. And we're going to look at a couple more options that are here, and that'll be it for the video. So next up here, we can go back to option, go back to the peak display mode, and we can actually look at some different views. They have some LUFS views. We're not going to touch on that. You guys can look at that. But one of the things I want to show you is you can see dual modes of spectral and normal. So you see both of those together. So the top half of the clip will be in regular peak mode, and then the bottom half will be in this spectral view. And also there's another option. We go back to that same menu option again, and then we go back down here to the bottom where it says spectral peaks plus spectrogram, and we'll have that look. So with these options here, with the colors, they do give you the option to go in and tweak the actual colors to your liking. So to get to that, you would go to options again, go back to peaks display mode, and all the way at the bottom we have peaks display settings. Select that and you're going to get this window. And this window is dealing with both the spectral and the peaks display. You can actually cycle through and change the view through here like we did in the menu, and you can move these color ranges around based on how you want this to look for your spectral peaks and also for the spectrogram look. And there's a lot of options here. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I just want to point out that the option is here, opacity for the spectral peaks up there. So if I move this slider, it could be very saturated or lightly saturated. The zoom size, and that's similar to just holding shift and pressing your up arrow or down arrow on your keyboard. So it's doing the same thing, but they give you a slider here. And like I said, you can click and move the colors around to set the colors to your liking for the different frequency range they have listed down here. And the same thing with down here if you want to mess around with your spectrogram view and how you want it to look color-wise, whatever suits you. So down here, they have the frequency ranges listed, and you drag the colors around to suit what you are trying to do. So that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Spectrogram and the spectral view, spectral options in Reaper. So definitely you don't see that in most DAWs. I know there's a few DAWs that might have some of those features with the views, but to have the views and the spectral edit functions, it's rare in a DAW. And I don't use it that much. I've used it once or twice in a pinch, and it's worked based on what I needed it to do. But it's great to just know that you have that feature there in the DAW natively right from the beginning. So that's it. Spectral options in Reaper. Thanks for watching. And as always, you'll see me in the next video.